Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Beyond Connections, your bi monthly opportunity to ask us, the analysts of Abacus Securities, your questions about the stock market, your portfolio, and anything under the sun as long as it's about Philippine equities and the economy. My name is Bess, one of the analysts for Abacus, and today, as usual, I'm joined by.
Hi guys, I'm Rainier, one of the analysts as well for MyTrade slash Abacus, and also
I'm Isaiah, one of the technical analysts for MyTrade and Apple Securities. Let me know what charts you want to see, and I can give you an update on some of the indices in a bit.
Okay, so please feel free to post your questions in the comments section, and we'll do our best to answer them. But while we're waiting for your questions, anything interesting that you're looking at today or this week, guys? Maybe I
yeah,
see, as usual, your read on the index. Sorry.
Yeah, so just looking at the index, if you can show the chart just quickly, it's not looking so good. It hasn't really changed ever since well, didn't get back or broke below 6,200. It's tracking this channel again, which would suggest possibly another retest of 5,900 all shares. Looking similar, possibly another retest of 3,600 tracking this descending channel. Um, Very few stocks have been above the 200-day. I saw a comment about Apex. Maybe we can do that a bit later after maybe Bess and Rainer.
Okay, thanks for that, IC. And also, I think just a few minutes ago, less than an hour ago, this was announced. The BSP cut their policy interest rate by, I believe, 25 basis points. This was not what was expected by the market. The market was projecting a pause, but this was, however, in line with our expectations of the BSP cutting this October instead of later this year. So from that, we are expecting that um, the banking stocks would probably react negatively, if it has already a little bit just before the market closed today, but there may be an even more pronounced reaction tomorrow once more investors have been able to digest this news. This is because as the BSP rate is the one that is used as a benchmark, we are expecting market rates to follow suit. Um, Although gradually, this was still, although the reaction of the market rates is probably going to be gradual, this is still going to result in some, or in the narrowing of the net interest margins of the banks, which we have nevertheless been expecting for some time now. So that's hot of the presses. Anything interesting on your end, Rainer, before we go to the questions in the chat box?
well, uh, actually the past weeks or so, there haven't been much on the news mill. I think the most recent ones, and as some may have observed, the mining plays have pretty much gone up. That's why the subsector there has really rallied. And first, that's because of the gold miners, because of the gold prices, as we have discussed over the past months or weeks, or the past beyond connections, driven by global market prices. And we'll tackle one of the names as part of the questions, which will be guided by IC and should have a better read on that. Then second, there was a news announcement last week on the petroleum service contracts, which basically opens up firms to be able to conduct surveys and drilling activities in various parts of the country, well designated spots in the country, to locate some oil or petroleum products, try to you see some natural resources on that end. So that's why we've seen the likes of EXP, OV, and Apple have really rallied over the past 2 days, and I think we'll see more of it. We'll see more of those trends at least until the end of the week, and or probably until tomorrow before prices begin to to correct. So I think that's one of the key news over the past days or week. So I think we can start with a question. Well, going back to to the gold question, and since one of the gold plays Apex along with PX, OGP, and LC. So for Shane's question, hello again, my team. What price is best to accumulate Apex, or is it not advisable to buy as it's too overpriced already? So while IC pulls up the chart for Apex, we did have a recent write up on Apex or Gold in our short takes. So if you're not a client yet, or if you're interested to read that, please feel free to reach out to our social media team to be able to open an account with us and we have access to our thoughts on that. But for Apex, it is one of our preferred gold plays because it is the one seeing the uh, direct results from the higher gold prices, meaning if gold prices have been going up 20 30%, earnings of Apex have also gone up the same way because of better output from their end. And we see that to continue to happen uh, in the next quarters. And based on the current average prices for gold in third quarter and fourth quarter, we might just see a continuation of that. And as for the question, I think IC can better guide on this one. So IC, maybe you can
So
provide some guidance
thank
on
you,
the
Rainier.
question.
Yeah, thanks, Rainier. So as for the chart on gold, it is testing the upper channel. So I think you could make a trade. You refine your entry with possibly a breakout above 11, 16 pesos. And if you wanted to, you could set your stop below 10.42 pesos. So you could control possibly the downside. Blue line here is gold for your reference. Personally, that's how I would trade Apex. So if it goes higher, I may consider lightening. And that's the technical view on Apex mining.
Okay, thanks for that, IC and Rainer. So while we wait for your questions, maybe we can discuss anything that we're looking forward to over the next few weeks, possibly before our next Beyond Connections. Um, for me, uh, we are almost near the start of the next earning season, so hopefully we see a better performance for the Filipino listed companies this quarter. Um, However, we are seeing some negative indicators for overall economic output for GDP, which we are also looking forward to when it's announced in mid-November. But yeah, so over the past few weeks, we have been observing some data that point to a weakening manufacturing sector. There was also a recent news report that said that Meralco's energy sales is quite flattish for the first 9 months of the year. So that's also one of the indicators that we normally look at. So that's probably one of the reasons why the BSP cut its policy rate, which was against the consensus expectation, um, since the economy will need some prodding for more activity, um, which is which is what the data unfortunately is showing, that there is some slowdown. What about you, Rainer? Anything interesting that you're looking forward to over the next few weeks?
Well, kind of in line with what you mentioned on the policy rate cuts. So, as mentioned, policy rate cuts do in turn make dividend yields or yield plays or dividend stocks make it more attractive. So, two of the dividend plays that are mostly are highly anticipated pala is SEC and DMCI. And they recently, I think, over the past week or this week, it has slightly corrected. And I think we are expecting their second half dividends to be announced next week. So it could be an opportunity, especially for those looking at yield plays, to catch SEC and DMC at current prices, given the short or the slight correction. And we think ano naman, they'll be able to sustain the high single digit or low double digit yield in the near to medium term for SEC and DMC. So that's something we're anticipating for next week, and could be a substantial play or uh, development for next week before the earning seasons begin.
Yeah, I think we have a question on the chat from Rene. Should REITs perk up on the interest rate cuts, or are those developments baked into the prices already? I think well, I don't know about Rainer, but I think there will be some reaction tomorrow, since the market was expecting the ESP to hold. So there will probably some weakness. Not some weakness, the opposite. There will probably be some strength in the REIT, since the rate cut is expected to reduce market rates, which includes bond rates. So as an alternative, REITs, um, the yield on the REITs would be more attractive. But this will probably be short term only. Um, it will still depend on the earnings potential of each of the specific REITs. Anything to add to that, Rainer?
For the REITs, again, if I think we've talked extensively our preference for the REIT place, and if you're not a client yet, please feel free to reach out to our social media team to to take a look at our preferred names. So just to hint, or just to give one sneak peek, RCR is one of our preferred plays, and we like that play for various reasons. And the rate cut, the recent rate cut, or today's rate cut, will probably have a positive impact on RCR.
Okay, thanks for that. We have the next question from Cadis. Hi, Cadis. What do we think about LTG? LTG is one of our dividend, well, our previous dividend picks. I think Rainer has more to say about this.
Yeah. Well, it's also one of our again, it's also one of our preferred yield plays, and I think we for today's Beyond Connection, we are discussing mostly the yield plays. And the bigger question for LTG, I think, over the past 3 years is one of the bigger questions is, will they be able to sustain their yield? And I think they have proven so. And this year, based on 2025 earnings, I think they've been able to prove it more. because of quality earnings. Earnings across the different categories have outperformed, which becomes an indicator of the stock being able or the company being able to provide continued dividends. So continue to like LTG naman as a yield pay. At first, we were skeptical whether they will be able to do so, but now I think recent earnings performance has proven more confidence or has shown more confidence in being able to do so. So again, with the rate cuts, LTG becomes more attractive at this point.
Maybe we can look at LTG from a technical point of view. I see. I see you're on mute. Sorry. Could you repeat?
Sorry about that. So I'll repeat that. So LTG trading above the ascending channel, pulling back. The key level to watch would be the volatility stop at 13 pesos and 86 centavos. So if it breaks that level, there could be downward momentum and test the lower end of the channel. Until then, it's presumed that the trend will continue. Um, that's the view on LTG. Hmm.
Okay, thanks for that, guys. Next question again from Rene. What is the context behind the expectations for the BSP to hold on interest rate cuts? Is it inflation worries? Um, I don't think it's inflation worries. Inflation was actually below what the market was expecting for September. I believe the consensus was at 1.9%, and it turned out to be at 1.7. This was also lower than our own expectations. I think it's more of conflicting data pointing to what the GDP would be, or the economic what level of economic activity we are expecting to see in the second half. Um, I think most of the analysts that were looking for a pause for the BSP was citing um, that uncertainty on on how GDP would perform in the third quarter. But as I mentioned earlier, what we are seeing so far is there is some indications of a slowdown. That's why we were actually in the minority and expecting a cut. I hope that answered your question. Do you have anything to add on it, Trainer?
I think you pretty much covered it best. But can you remind us best how I don't know how narrow na is the gap between the Fed and the BSP's rate? So I think that would have an impact to the peso then, and I think the peso reacted on a negative in a negative way at this point because of the narrowed gap.
Uh, I I don't have that number in my head right now. Let me check on that. But you're correct. Is if that gap narrows, there will be some impact on the exchange rate. So that's something that we will probably see as well tomorrow when markets have more time to react to this latest news. So well, let's move on to the next question from Sarmiento Jeric. This is for IC. Insight on JGS doing cup
Yes.
and
So just quickly did some studies on JGS. So the chart, uh, Joseph, can you show the chart? So didn't see the cup. Didn't really see the cup can handle the depth 50% move. So you could possibly derive another target if it breaks above this downtrend line, this resistance here at 24 pesos 90 cents. So it could possibly test maybe 28 pesos if it is able to break that resistance. So I guess that's his question, no, about this JGS. If it breaks 20 pesos and 92 cents, that could already be the end of its move for the meantime. So that's the technical view on JGS.
Just
Thanks for
to
that,
add,
guys.
yeah, just to add,
Nice.
this. On JGS, not too keen on buying JGS just yet. Especially, I think we're just a month away before they announce their earnings results, and they have guided that they will book an impairment charge of probably close to 100 billion because of the petrochem business, and it's likely to drag down sentiment and earnings, especially when headline numbers come out. It's most likely going to be a steep drop in terms of the headline figures that could scare off some investors and potentially cause some sell off on JGS. So I think that's possible and that's likely to happen in the next month. I think they will announce maybe uh, in the week of November 9 to 13. So just watch out on the developments on that.
Okay. Before we go to the next question, just going back to what Rainer asked earlier, the gap is at 75 basis points between the U.S. Federal Reserve's target rate, the upper bound of their target rate, and the BSP's the latest policy rate. So this is lower than before, and at 75 basis points, this is also lower than what the previous um, BSP governor said was sort of the ideal gap, which was 100, at least 100 basis points, to make Philippine investments more enticing to foreigners. So that's going to affect the exchange rate. Should that gap stay at 75 basis points, but our current BSP governor doesn't seem to be too concerned about that. I think there were some headlines earlier, or he was quoted earlier, that the BSP will only defend if there are any sharp movements in the exchange rate, but not necessarily uh, defending the peso just because it's depreciating. So it's just only any time that the BSP will defend the peso will be only to smoothen the movements in the exchange rate. So I hope that answers the questions from Rene. Another one, I think this one is also for IC on the PSEI. Is there a pattern discernible from PSEI's brief visit to 5905, a rebound to 628, and now a down move to 6056? Is there any indication where it can go in the near term, or is more time needed, or should we wait?
Thank you, Serena, for the question. So my reading is it's not any at the moment doesn't seem like any hundred. Um, but if somehow it breaks above this downward trend line, and it would suggest a test of 6,200, but that would be the bullish case. So it would look like possibly a reverse head and shoulder. But My read currently is that it will probably test the 5,900 level again. So that's what I currently see. Sorry.
Okay, thanks for that. I see we have a comment from Hector Canelita. Sad to say, mahirap na mag-invest sa Philippine Stock Exchange due to corrupt government officials. Way back in 2017, yung PSEI umabot ng 7K level or almost 8K level. Pero ngayon, still in 6K level pa. Naiiwan na tayo sa ibang Asian stocks. Yes, that's sad to say. But the bright side is we are currently at very, very cheap levels. We are actually, I think, we're already below the crisis level PE for the PSEI, which means that if you are investing for the long term, you are going to be able to get or to get in at a very cheap level. So hopefully that doesn't discourage you, Hector, from still investing for for the future with us in MyTrade and with Philippine equities in general. And then, or do you have any comments to that, guys?
Yeah, I just want to add that the index may be trailing, especially if you compare it over past 10 years. But ayun, the opportunities are still there. We have seen stocks that have gone up much more significantly compared to the index, and we have some new asset class. Let's say the REITs. REITs are a particularly good strategy, especially when it was introduced during the pandemic from the REIT laws. And once they were introduced, it has performed, or the various REITs have performed much better than the index. And I think some names like A-REIT, RCR, and C-REIT, even M-REIT, have pretty much gone up double digits. And some of those names even have, in their 4 or 5 years of being listed, has almost doubled or grown 60 to 80%, excluding dividends. So if we include dividends, your money would have closely doubled by now. So there are still opportunities, I believe, and it's a matter of choosing the right names, which that's our job or task to do to help you guys try to navigate through the volatility and uncertainty in the market.
Yes, and speaking of REITs, I think there was some news recently that the SEC is looking into allowing or expanding the types of properties that can be held into a REIT. So that should, or that if that pushes through, that could increase the interest in REITs going public and for investors to invest in different types of REITs, not just for the usual office or commercial properties. I think we can take on just our one or two more questions. From Rene again, what kind of Q3 is DNL likely to report? Is DNL attractive or expensive?
Well, at this point, prices are depressed, and I think it's even close to where it was during the pandemic than uh, where it was 2 years ago. So more close to its lows than its highs, and I think we are at the point where we're anticipating the ramp up or of how the ramp up will happen for DNL, since their new plant has been at a more 50 to 60% capacity utilization, and I think they are still on track to meet their targets. And over the years, uh, there could be opportunities to pick up DNL. But for Q3, I think odds are it will continue to uh, sustain or maintain its first half performance, which was pretty ano naman. There is still some growth, but it is coming from a lower base. And I think one of the factors that has affected DNL is the US tariff, since uh, a portion of their clients are based in the US, so that could have impacted some of the demand coming from uh, that part of their exports. So I think we're still watching it for now, but I think odds of a positive surprise is less likely at this point, for at least for Q3. But we'll get a better picture once it's out, and what's its outlook for Q4 and 2026.
Thanks for that, Rainer. Maybe we can look at DNL's technical analysis as well.
Just quick glance at DNL. Descending channel over the past, well, since October 2024. Looking at the oscillator, you can see that it has already reached the short-term peak and suggests a test of the lower end of the descending channel at 4 pesos 49 cents. So you'd look for possibly a reversal here between 4.49 and 5 pesos and 17 cents to reverse this downward channel. So that's the technical view on DNL.
Thanks for that, Icy. So it's already 4 o'clock. I think we can answer the questions that are remaining on the chat box through either a post at our Facebook group, or we can contact you directly. But unfortunately, that's all the time we have for this episode of Beyond Connection. Thank you for joining us this afternoon, and hopefully you can join us again when we come back for another episode in about 2 weeks' time. Any parting words, guys?
So you mentioned earlier on the opportunities that the market presents, and even at a current market environment like this, we still continue to like some names, though of course there is more caution these days. But we'll continue to uh, guide and try our best to identify those names. And one way to hear more from us is through our short takes, which are published daily, and continue to help you guys.
I just want to say thank you for tuning in again and wishing everyone the best of luck in their trades. Thank you.